2023 was a surprisingly disappointing season for Pittsburgh. The Panthers went 9-4 in 2022, carrying quite a bit of momentum into the season, but went just 3-9 for their worst year under Pat Narduzzi. Now the Panthers are desperate for a bounce-back season, and unfortunately, that might be easier said than done. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad that you could join us today to break down Pittsburgh's schedule and record for this upcoming season. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of our expert picks. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. We've beat out over 80% of the national handicappers each of the last 6 years. We guarantee it will be each of the last 7 years by the end of this season, hitting over 63% of our bets all time. So if you want to win big, this is a place for you. The earlier you sign up for that, the better, because you do get a handful of other exclusive content along with that subscription. So go check it out. Check out our mailing address as well. Send us some of your team's gear. Everything you see back here has been sent in by you, members of the GE Nation. We'd love to get some of your teams represented as we continue to grow our GE Nation from coast to coast. We promise you're going to want to be a part of this as we progress through prediction season, as we get closer to the start of the regular season. So Pittsburgh, guys, I mean, it was a rough year. 3-9, their most losses in a season since 1998, the worst season under Pat Narduzzi as he now enters his 10th year with the program. It's tough being a Pittsburgh football fan, right? Even the year a couple of years ago where they made a New Year's Six bowl game, made the ACC championship, they still had 3 losses. They've had at least 3 losses every single season since 1981. So this is just a tough place to win and really to get some really high success. But Pat Narduzzi has brought them a amount, I think, of consistency, and typically a consistent season, 7, 8, maybe 9 wins, and a consistent bowl program. Last year was the exception, and this year maybe could be the same as well. You take a look at the offense. It was atrocious last year. 20.2 points per game is all the Panthers could muster, only 318 yards per game, and they had to make a change. They've got a new offensive coordinator now, and Cade Bell, coming in from the FCS ranks, coming in from Western Carolina, where last year his team averaged over 37 points per game and over 500 yards per game. So that's huge. He's going to come in there, bring in a more up-tempo offense, maybe a little bit more pass-heavy offense for Pittsburgh, and it could bode well for them and see some significant stat increases from what we saw last year. 9 starters are back on that side of the ball, including their quarterback Nate Yarnell. Might battle the job a little bit with the Alabama transfer and Eli Holstein, but I still think Yarnell's going to get the job. This is a guy that's accurate, relatively inexperienced, hasn't seen the field too much over the course of his career with the Panthers, but still solid enough, and he's paired with a transfer running back in Desmond Reed coming in from Western Carolina, joining Cade Bell. They've also got Rodney Hammond, who returns. 5 of their top 6 pass catchers do return, including their star tight end, Gavin Bartholomew. And the offensive line was a major issue last year, major reason for their struggle. They had 12 different lineups, going to be significantly better in 2024. The defense for Pittsburgh is typically strong. Last year, not so much. They held opponents to under 25 points per game for the last 4 years until they allowed over 27 points per game last year. They also had over 46 sacks in each of the last 4 seasons. Last year, that number dropped to only 31 sacks. Only 4 starters back for the Panthers now this year, but that does include their top 2 tacklers in the secondary. Donovan McMillan and Javon McIntyre both playing safety. The interior defensive line, a bit of a concern for Pittsburgh, but the ends. The edge rushers going to be solid. They had Chief Borders in from Nebraska. They got Nate Matlack in from Kansas State. So the edge rushers going to be solid, but what can they do in the middle? So really the back 7, I feel pretty solid about that. Defensive line, though, is maybe the area of concern for Pittsburgh defensively, and they're going to need that to be better if they want to increase those sack numbers like we've seen for so many years. You dive into Pittsburgh's schedule. Let's get to it. It's a tough one. Look, no one's expecting Pittsburgh to go win 9, 10 games this year or contend for an ACC championship, but getting back to the postseason would be viewed as a success, and that is easier said than done with this schedule. I think they open up with a win against Kent State, no worries there, but then immediately go on the road to play a power opponent in Cincinnati, their first trip to Cincinnati since these teams were Big East members back in 2012. And look, I think you knew if you were Pittsburgh, you knew it was going to be a long year when you lost to Cincinnati last year. Cincinnati was not good. They weren't expected to be good. And so when you lost at home to a very, very bad Cincinnati team, 27-21, you knew it was going to be a long year. And that's exactly what it was. Both teams ended up going 3-9. Cincinnati now, though, does return plenty of experience. They return the entire offensive line. They've got a much better front seven defensively than they had last year. They actually averaged over 200 rushing yards per game last year with Corey Kiner. And if Pittsburgh can't figure out that interior defensive line, Cincinnati could have themselves a field day on the ground with home field advantage on their side. Going to be a much better team than we saw last year. Give me the Bearcats to beat the Panthers here. They could win last year on the road. I think they can take care of business now at home with an improved team. Scott Satterfield, we know, is a program builder, and we're going to see that with the Bearcats. So Pittsburgh drops that game. I hate to say it, but I think they're going to drop the 107th meeting of the Backyard Brawl against West Virginia. And I know you're going to hate me for that, Pittsburgh fan. That's your rival. You can't lose the Backyard Brawl. But West Virginia's getting better. 9 wins last year. Beat Pittsburgh 17-6. A very low-scoring game. This is a team now that returns 8 starters on offense, including a dangerous running back duo of Jaheim White and C.J. Donaldson, and their star dual-threat quarterback, Garrett Green. All 3 of those players I just mentioned rushed for over 700 yards in 2023. Neil Brown needed a big year last season to save his job. He did just that. The back 7 for the Mountaineers is extremely solid as well. Linebacking core very good. Cornerbacks, very, very good. West Virginia is building something. Neil Brown finally turned that corner. And I think in all aspects of this game, West Virginia is the better team. They just don't own home field advantage, and they can overcome that. They will beat Pittsburgh in week 3. Pittsburgh now 1-2, but will make them 2-2 to round out the month of September. They'll beat Youngstown State. So they're 2-2 entering the bulk of conference play. This is where the season's made. Just win 4 conference games. Go 500. 500 in conference play, and you're going back to a bowl game. Well, I hate to say it, they're going to drop their first conference game. They're going to lose to North Carolina. They are 0-7 in Chapel Hill. Pittsburgh is. That includes a 42-24 loss in 2022. And they got beat pretty bad against the Tar Heels last year, 41-24. Everybody looks at North Carolina. They go, oh, they're not going to be as good this year. Drake May's gone. They lose some receivers. Oh, no, they're in trouble. That's not true. Max Johnson comes in, very solid transfer quarterback from LSU and Texas A&M. Omarion Hampton's one of the better running backs in the conference this year. The question is, can North Carolina's defense do the job? I'm going to say yes. I'm still on the fence about Pittsburgh's offense right now. Completely new system. Nate Yarnell, not a quarterback that gets me super excited. I think UNC can hold their own defensively. I think they can get the job done at home. Pittsburgh drops this game to North Carolina. They are 2-3, 0-1 in conference play. Let's get them, though, back to 500 with a home win over California. A lot goes into this game, right? California taking a massive, massive road trip all the way out from on the West Coast, all the way out to the East. That's going to play a role. This team is going to be jet lagged. They are going to be tired. But you look at California as well. The California secondary gave up over 280 passing yards per game last year. Again, I just told you that I'm not the biggest fan of Nate Yarnell. I'm not super pumped about him or anything, but I do think by this point in the season, he is going to have gelled and gotten into Cade Bell's system. He is an accurate quarterback, and I think this is maybe the game that he needs to kind of break out, feel good. A lot of pass catchers coming back, a lot of weapons at his disposal. They torched this California secondary. California, that long road trip plays a role. The secondary plays a role. Pittsburgh's home field advantage plays a role. The Panthers beat the Golden Bears behind the arm of Nate Yarnell and behind a defensive line that gets better and bottles up Jaden Ott of California. They are 3-3 now, entering their last bye week. So not a bad place to be. Not great, but not bad. What can they do down the stretch? Coming out of the bye week, they take on Syracuse. Syracuse on a Thursday night. Those midweek games are always very interesting to me. And we said it a couple times through prediction season that if you're going to play a midweek game, you definitely want it to be at home because weird things happen during the midweeks. You look at Syracuse. Last year, the Panthers lost 28-13. They allowed 392 rushing yards to the Orange. Pittsburgh, offensively as a whole, had just 269 total yards. So Syracuse had more rushing yards than Pittsburgh had total yards. That's a concern. But now Pittsburgh, as we know, is better. Syracuse is going to be a sneaky good team this year, too. But they've got a first-year head coach, Fran Brown. What do we expect from him? Great transfer class, great guys coming back, 18 total starters back for the Orange. But I like Pittsburgh's odds here. I think that defense last year was a weird anomaly that they struggled so much. I think Pat Narduzzi rights that ship a little bit with a week of rest at home on a midweek against a first-year head coach. Narduzzi owns the edge there from a coaching standpoint. I think Pittsburgh's able to get the job done. The Panthers win, and they are above 500. They are 4-3 entering the month of November. This is where the season will be made. In the month of November, they open up against SMU. They're not beating the Mustangs. SMU is way too good offensively. So much coming back for the SMU that I think they could challenge for an ACC championship appearance this year. That's how good this team is. If they can have the size to compete in the trenches, and Rhett Lashlee recognized that, add a lot of power transfers, SMU is going to be very dangerous. A veteran quarterback in Preston Stone, his top 7 pass catchers returned. Running backs, both of them, returned. The defense, severely underrated. So Pittsburgh now has to go on the road to take on this SMU team. It's also homecoming for the Mustangs. I don't like their odds. I don't think Pittsburgh's going to have the offense to hang with the Mustangs in this game if it turns into a shootout. SMU wins that. Pittsburgh back to 500. They go back above 500 with a win against Virginia. Not much to touch on there. The Cavaliers are going to struggle, I think, again in year 3 under Tony Elliott. They're going to improve competitively, but probably not much in the win column. So at 5-4 with 3 games left, the Panthers just have to win one more game to go bowling. But if you look at who they've got to play, it's tough. Clemson, Louisville, Boston College, only one of those against Clemson is at home. Don't feel too good about that, right? I think they're going to drop a game to the Tigers. So they go back to 500, 5-5. The Clemson's way too good, guys. Even if you don't have faith in Cade Klubnik, they've got Phil Maffa. They've got a very good wide receiver core, and they've got a very, very, very good defense. I think it's going to wreak havoc on this Pittsburgh offensive line and wreak havoc on this Pittsburgh offense as a whole. The Panthers do not have what it takes to beat Clemson, even if they do get to host this game. So they go up to 5-5. Then they have to go to the ACC runner-up on the road to Louisville. Interesting game here. Last year, when Pittsburgh played Louisville, the Panthers won. They beat the undefeated 14th-ranked Cardinals 38-21. They were outgained 430 yards to 288 yards, but they won the game because they forced 3 turnovers, one of which was a pick 6. But Louisville's loaded, guys. Louisville's going to be out for revenge. That ruined their potential undefeated season. Keep in mind, entering the last weekend of the year, Louisville was only a 1-loss team. That was to Pittsburgh. So revenge on Louisville's mind at home, where Louisville played extremely well last year under Jeff Brom, reloaded at the wide receiver core and the quarterback position through the transfer portal. Louisville will beat Pittsburgh, and I'm going to say they're going to try to run up the score, kind of like Pittsburgh did last year. I mean, not they ran it up, a 17-point victory. I think Louisville's going to go for that, if not more. They dropped that game, which means the season finale at Boston College will determine if Pittsburgh goes bowling or not. They are 5-6 on the road at BC. A Boston College team with a brand new head coach in Bill O'Brien, who might also be fighting for their bowl lives in the season finale. So the stakes could be high. Potential 2 5-6 teams here last weekend of the year. Pittsburgh did beat the Eagles 24-16 last year. That defense showed up. They had 6 sacks on the day. But I look at this Boston College team. Thomas Castellanos, dangerous quarterback. Only going to get better with an offensive mind in Bill O'Brien. Dangerous dual threat guy. Really started to find his footing as the year went on. They're at home with the senior day for the Eagles. Potential bowl berth on the line. 17 starters back for Boston College. I expect this game to be very, very close. But between 2 teams I think are relatively even, it might be in a similar spot. Give me the team that has home field advantage, and give me the team that I think is going to have the better offense as a whole. Boston College wins this game, and Pittsburgh falls short of a bowl game. 5-7 for the Panthers this year. And here's the thing. You look at the schedule, it's pretty tough. You might disagree with that. If you're trying to find one extra win for the Panthers, maybe it is against Boston College. Maybe it's against Cincinnati or West Virginia. Those are the only 3 potential games where Pittsburgh could maybe snag one extra win to go bowling. They're not going to win all 3. At the best, Pittsburgh goes 7-5 this year. At the best, 7-5. I don't even think they can hit that. I think 5-7, maybe 6-6 is more likely. We're going to go on the lower end here. Panthers 5-7, another losing season. And you can't help but wonder if maybe that will spell the end of the Pat Narduzzi era. Back-to-back losing seasons, going in the wrong direction. 10 years with the program. Might be time for a change for the Panthers. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. Our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of our expert picks. The earlier you sign up for those, the better. Do not miss out on that offer, guys, and all the exclusive content we have over there so you can become a member of our GE Nation. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.